Imagine an ocean so vast, so terrifying, that a creature the size of a school bus ruled its depths.
Billions of years ago, Earth's oceans were a vibrant, terrifying frontier, and humanity was just beginning its journey. Along these treacherous shores, our ancestors carved out a precarious existence, their lives tied to the rhythm of the tides. Survival here demanded constant awareness, for in these waters, danger was a constant, lurking presence. Lesser predators were a daily threat, a constant test of their reflexes and their will to survive. Their home was a fortress, a high perch from which to watch the world. But some things were too large to hide from.
And then, a sign. A disturbance on the horizon. The kind of panic that could only be caused...
Megalodon. A living legend shrouded in mystery, its power absolute and terrifying to behold.
They witnessed its power, a casual act of destruction that solidified its place as a god of the sea.
But what if this god could bleed? This was the question that would change the course of human history.
The Titan's display left a scar. Their safe, predictable world was now haunted by the ghost of the Leviathan.
But hunger is a relentless master. They were forced to return to the dangerous frontier, to the ocean's edge. But the great shark's presence had poisoned the waters. Its terror had driven away the smaller life they depended on.
The leader understood. The king's mere presence was a weapon, starving them out of their own home.
They were forced to take greater risks, venturing into more dangerous waters in their desperate search for food. But the ocean is a fickle partner. The tide, their ally, could quickly become their enemy, trapping them. A terrifying reminder. They were trespassers in the kingdom of a god, and the king was always watching. Empty-handed and terrified, they fled. Their new hunting ground was now another forbidden territory.
Trapped, with a monster in their larder and starvation at their door, their situation was now impossible.
He realized they could not run. They could not hide. They had to think. They had to fight back. The first weapon was not stone, but observation. The leader began his long, patient study of his enemy.
He studied the ocean's rhythm, its powerful, predictable breath. He saw not just a tide, but a weapon.
And then, he saw it. A trap, made by nature itself. A miniature version.
He studied the beast's path, its habits. He saw that even a god had its predictable routines.
The connection was made. The wisdom of the land could be applied to the sea. The gully and the channel were the same.
Observation gave way to action. He returned to his clan not with fear, but with a plan. A plan to hunt a god.
He explained his impossible vision. To use the tide as a gate, and the inlet as a cage. It was insane. It was impossible. It was their only chance. They agreed.
The location was chosen. A natural prison of rock, the perfect stage for their audacious plan. The stage was set. The great work was about to begin. The work of building a trap for a Leviathan. The first step was to tame the battlefield. At low tide, the ocean floor revealed its secrets and its challenges. Every obstacle had to be moved, every natural feature leveraged. A monumental task of brute force and cooperation, a clean slate for their grand design. They meticulously prepared the underwater terrain for its deadly purpose. They studied the geology, identifying natural anchors, weaknesses in the very rock that could serve their ambition. Day after day, tide after tide, their persistent labor slowly reshaped the natural landscape into a weapon. Beyond the shore, a new resource was needed. The forest would provide the timbers for their colossal cage. A forest giant fell, providing the raw power needed to contain the ocean's apex predator. From raw timber, they forged sharpened spears. A dense, underwater forest of death was slowly taking shape. A grueling march from forest to sea. Every log represented hours of labor, a collective act of incredible will. The raw materials were gathered. The forest had yielded its weapons. The coastal ambush was one crucial step closer.
But stakes alone would not hold a god. They needed a web to ensnare the Leviathan.
The forest, once more, was their hardware store. They sought its strongest fibers, its toughest vines.
Each vine was stripped, prepared, its hidden strength revealed for their grand and terrible purpose. Individual strands became a mighty rope, their combined strength far greater than the sum of its parts. And so, the great web began. A colossal net, woven by the hands of an entire... Day after day, the net grew, a testament to their unwavering focus and their incredible capacity for cooperation. Every knot was a masterpiece of primitive physics, designed to tighten with the monster's struggles. Their engineering was tested. It had to be strong enough to hold back a living earthquake, a titan of the sea. The great web was complete. A weapon of patience, cooperation, and astonishing ingenuity. All the pieces were in place. Now came the most dangerous part, assembling the trap in the monster's own domain. Desperate hunger drove them onto the rocks, a dangerous gamble in the heart of the monster's kingdom.
And then, the king appeared. Not to hunt, but to watch.
They were trapped, a tiny island of flesh and fear, surrounded by the ocean's ultimate predator. A test of their sanctuary, a casual display of power, a reminder that even the solid rock was no guarantee of safety. Trapped and terrified, they could do nothing but wait. Prisoners of the tide and the titan. Their sanctuary was shrinking. The rising tide, once a predictable rhythm, was now an ally to the beast. The hunter was patient. It knew the ocean itself would deliver the prey to its waiting jaws. A desperate choice, to be swallowed by the tide, or to risk a frantic dash through the monster's own domain. They ran, a desperate, splashing stampede for the shore, their hearts pounding in their chests. The splashing was a dinner bell. The king of the sea turned, and the true, final race for life began.
The race for life. A desperate, final scramble against a living torpedo of muscle and teeth.
A near miss. The giant's wake. A weapon in itself. A taste of its overwhelming, casual power.
They clawed their way back to the land, their sanctuary of water now a confirmed death trap.
They had survived. But their confidence, their mastery of the coast, was shattered forever.
The monster did not leave. It patrolled. It claimed their waters. Their home was now a prison.
The existential threat was now clear. The monster owned their food source. To stay was to starve.
Desperation forged a new resolve. Fear was a luxury they could no longer afford. The time for hiding was over. If they could not fight the monster on its terms, they would force it to fight on theirs.
The plan was born.
The battle would be won not in the water, but here, in the dirt, with a map and an idea. First, he made them understand the enemy, its path, its power, its predictable nature.
The plan was insane. To build a cage in the ocean. To trap a god in a prison of their own making.
The clan was terrified. The plan seemed like madness, a suicidal challenge to an unbeatable foe. But he showed them the alternative, the slow, certain death of starvation.
Their choice was not between safety and risk.
Slowly, one by one, they chose the path of the hunter over the path of the victim. With the clan's trust, the blueprint moved from the sand to the stone. The final survey began. They tested the currents, studied the tides. Every element of their plan was checked and double-checked.
The plan was sound. The location was perfect. Now, they needed the raw materials for their cage of death.
And so, the great work began. The felling of a forest to build a prison for a god.
Their plan required timber, and so they marched into the forest, a place of giants, to harvest their weapons. They did not choose the easy path. To trap a giant, they needed to fell a giant.
Their only weapon against the forest's giants was another stone, shaped by a thinking hand.
The first blow was struck. A war of attrition, of stone against wood, of patience against immense scale.
Hours turned into days. A monumental task, fueled by their shared will and the gnawing hunger in their bellies.
Each swing was a testament to their endurance, a defiance against the impossible scale of their world.
Even the forest fought back. Every moment of their great work was fraught with its own unique and deadly perils.
They learned from every near miss, adapting their strategy, their vigilance honed by the constant threat of death. And then, the final groan. The giant, after days of struggle, finally began to surrender to the stone.
The first great timber for their trap was won. A victory of persistence over an unyielding world.
The giant was felled. But their victory was only the beginning of a new, monumental task of labor.
They worked as one, a coordinated effort to strip the giant of its limbs, to shape it into their weapon. Their advanced tools, a product of 1,000,000 years of evolution, made the impossible task of shaping wood a reality.
They used fire not just for warmth, but as a cutting tool, a way to conquer a task too great for stone alone.
Each log was sharpened into a fang, a wooden dagger the size of a man, ready for the giant of the sea. Even in their great work, the everyday dangers of their world were a constant, lurking threat, demanding perpetual vigilance. The first stake was ready, a single tooth, in what would become a jaw of sharpened wood. And so began the Great Hauling, a monumental feat of logistics, powered by nothing but muscle and unbreakable will. Every foot was a battle, a testament to their incredible cooperation and their shared, desperate vision. The first timber arrived at the sea, a single piece of a puzzle that would take weeks to assemble.
There was no time for rest. The work was monumental, the tide a relentless clock.
Day after day, they hauled the teeth of their trap from the forest to the sea, a slow, agonizing, but steady process. But stakes alone would not hold a god. They needed a web to ensnare the Leviathan.
Each vine was stripped, prepared, its hidden strength revealed for their grand and terrible purpose.
Individual strands became a mighty rope, their combined strength far greater than the sum of its parts. And so, the great web began, a colossal net, woven by the hands of The trap required both brute strength and delicate, intelligent design, a fusion of power and thought. Day after day, the net grew, a testament to their unwavering focus and their incredible capacity for cooperation.
Their engineering was tested. It had to be strong enough to hold back a living earthquake, a titan of the sea.
The components were forged. The teeth and the web were ready. Now, they had to build the jaw. The assembly began, a race against the returning tide. They had only hours to build their cage of death. They dug the foundations of their trap, their primitive tools battling against the hard, unforgiving ocean floor. The ocean was filled with lesser dangers, constant, venomous threats that tested their resolve at every turn. The first stake was driven home, a single, defiant tooth in the jaw of their massive, man-made trap. A forest of sharpened wood grew from the seabed, a primitive gate against a living god of the ocean. The great web was moved, its immense weight a testament to their ambition and their collective desperation. From the high cliffs, they prepared to raise their weapon, a curtain of death to be dropped from above. With muscle and vine, they hoisted the great net, a slow, agonizing process against the relentless pull of gravity. The trap was armed, an entire ocean of force, held in place by a single, crucial, primitive pin. Their work was done. The stage was set. Now, all they had to do was summon the monster.
The trap was built. But a cage is useless without the bait to summon the monster.
They could not hunt the sea's lesser beasts. They needed a prize of colossal size, a meal fit for a god. So they watched, and they waited, for the ocean, in its cruelty, to provide them with a gift.
And then, a gift from the sea's indifferent cruelty. A dying whale, beached and helpless. The perfect bait.
The prize was there, but it was not yet theirs. They had to secure it before the tide, or the sharks, returned. A dangerous dance with a dying giant. They worked to anchor their bait, risking life and limb. The final touch. A single, deep cut to send a river of scent into the ocean. A summons for the king. The final briefing. Every member had their role. The bait team, the trigger team, and the killers.
The trigger team ascended to their lonely perch, their hands holding the fate of the entire clan. All the pieces were in place. The teams were ready. Now, all they needed was the monster.
The final, deadly act began. A procession of blood and bone to summon the king of the sea. The scent trail spread for miles, an invisible highway, an invitation written in blood. On the cliffs, the killers waited, their weapons sharpened, their nerves honed to a razor's edge. They were now in the monster's world. Tiny, fragile specks of life in an endless, hungry blue. And then, miles away, the king caught the scent. A promise of an easy, colossal meal. The hunt began. A slow, inexorable journey towards the scent, towards the trap. The bait was set. The summons was sent. Now, they had to escape before the guest of honor arrived. High above, the trigger team waited, their hands holding the fate of their clan and the fury of the sea. And then they saw it, a dark triangle on the horizon. The king was coming to claim his offering.
A desperate race to the finish line. The monster had arrived. The trap was about to be sprung.
A desperate escape. They reached safety just as the Leviathan entered the jaws of their trap.
It swam past the point of no return, into the heart of the human-made labyrinth.
The Titan was distracted, its mind consumed for the kill. This was their one, fleeting chance.
The signal was given. The moment had come. The fate of the clan, in a single, silent gesture.
The trigger was pulled. The culmination of weeks of labor, unleashed in a single, desperate moment.
The pin released. The trap was sprung. Gravity, their silent, powerful ally, was finally unleashed. The great web fell, a man-made avalanche, a curtain of death for the king of the sea. The gate was closed. The shark, blind to the fury that fell from above, was now a prisoner. The net and the stakes combined, creating a cage of wood and vine, a primitive but powerful prison. The king was caged. The shock of the trap gave way to the first tremors of a leviathan's unholy fury. The Titan's fury erupted. Its first charge, a test of its own power against their primitive cage. Every rope, every stake groaned under the strain. The trap was holding, but barely. A testament to their design. Witnessing the sheer power of their captive, even the bravest felt a chilling doubt. Had they trapped a god?
It attacked the very fabric of its prison, its jaws a weapon of pure, unadulterated destruction.
But the woven vines, crafted with foresight, resisted the crushing force. A shield of organic ingenuity. It tried to break free, only to become more entangled. The net became a tightening web of despair.
The stakes found their mark, adding agonizing pain to its fury. The Leviathan was bleeding.
The wound was a sign. The moment for passive defense was over. It was time to attack.
They moved into striking distance, a terrifyingly close encounter with the ancient world's most powerful predator.
The hunter had become the hunted, and the prey, emboldened by ingenuity, was about to strike back. The final showdown began. A rain of sharpened bone against the king of the sea.
Their attack was not random, but a calculated assault on the Titan's vulnerable points.
Pain turned to pure rage. The wounded Leviathan unleashed the full, terrifying power of the ocean.
They fought not just the beast, but the very ocean itself, its fury now the shark's weapon.
Their greatest strength was not the spear, but the hand that would not let another fall.
The leader adapted, his mind a calm center in the heart of the storm, directing the battle beat by beat.
The attack shifted, from the sharp point of the spear to the blunt, crushing force of the mountain itself. A new weapon, concussive force, a way to stun the beast, to disorient its senses in its own world. The trap's deadly embrace tightened. The shark's own panicked struggles became its worst enemy. The beast was broken. The time for harassment was over. The time for the final, merciful kill had arrived. The final assault. A desperate, courageous push to end the battle they had started. They attacked its breath, its life source, turning the water into a sea of blood. A final, defiant snap, the last spasm of a dying god, a final testament to its terrifying power. They had stared into the abyss, and the abyss had snapped back with the force of a mountain. The final blow. A merciful, brutal end to the king of the sea. The Titan was felled. And then, silence. A profound quiet descended upon the bloody inlet. The great heart was still.
They stood in stunned silence, a band of tiny, clever apes who had just killed a god.
The silence broke. The leader raised his spear, a silent declaration of their impossible victory. And the clan answered, a roar of triumph, a sound that echoed through the ages. They had won. They had not merely survived, they had conquered. Primitive ingenuity had toppled the ancient king of the sea.
The battle was won, but the work, the monumental task of claiming their prize, had just begun.
Up close, the true scale of their conquest was revealed. A mountain of flesh, won by courage and cunning. Their sharpest stones met the beast's armor. The first cut in a monumental task that would take days.
From the monster's jaw, they claimed their ultimate trophy, the fangs of the sea, now their own.
A symbol of their victory, a weapon of the fallen god, now a jewel for the new kings of the coast.
The entire clan worked as one, a symphony of stone and muscle to claim their life-saving reward.
But such a colossal kill was a beacon. It did not go unnoticed. New, hungry mouths arrived.
Their victory had taught them vigilance. They were prepared to defend their prize against all comers.
Their organized defense held firm. They would not surrender a single scrap of their hard-won bounty.
The work continued through the night, a relentless, guarded effort to secure their future against the hungry dark. After days of relentless labor, the great beast was claimed. But the work was far from over.
Ingenuity, born of necessity. The monster's own body provided the tools to carry it home. The final haul, a river of human muscle, carrying a mountain of life-giving food to their sanctuary.
To survive the coming lean times, the meat had to be preserved. A new level of foresight was born. They used the sun and the salt of the sea, a primitive but highly effective method of preserving their bounty.
The spiles of war became the tools of a new age. The monster's fang, now a human hand axe.
A revolution in a single tool. Their power over their environment had grown tenfold in a single hunt. And the hide, tougher than any they had ever known, promised a new level of shelter and protection.
Their victory fed not just their bodies for a night, but their ingenuity for a generation.
They had faced the king of the sea and won. They were no longer just a part of their world. They were beginning to shape it.